Okay, we are live. We'll give it a minute and see if we've got some people that join on with us. Everyone that might be paying attention at the moment, you'll notice it's Krista and not Karen. So Karen is currently out with our first ever sponsored partner hunt. They are turkey hunting in Kansas this week. They start tomorrow. They're very excited. Y'all remember that last week they just finished off their first ever all women's Bass Pro Cabela's Club Turkey Hunt experience that Shoot Like a Girl co-sponsored, and we had a blast there too. So hunting is happening a lot in our world, and it's a lot of fun. But Karen can't be here because of that, so you get just me. Tonight we are very excited because we have Dan Compton. I got that right, didn't I?
Yep, you did.
Thankfully. With us from Federal Premium, and we're going to talk a little bit about the 22 punch. So hopefully you guys have seen this. It's been pushed out there. There's been social media on it. Of course, we know about it because we're in those channels, and we're really, really excited to hear about it. Before we get started, though, Dan, why don't you give us a little history about who you are and your job at Federal?
Sure. Yeah, Dan Compton. I've worked for Federal Ammunition. I'm what's called a product line manager for CCI, Federal, and Speer Ammunition. So not a lot of people know, but we are owned by one company in CCI, Speer, and Federal, and now Remington and Heavy Shot. We're all sister companies. But I typically work just on rimfire and Shotshell ammunition within those three brands. I've been with the company going on 12 years now, which, boy, it goes fast. And before that, I worked retail or exporting goods, sold firearms, and then I was a concealed carry instructor as well. And I would probably continue to do that, but I just got too busy to dedicate full time to it. But I really enjoyed the experience. So grew up a hunter, grew up a shooter, and now I'm lucky enough to work for a great company on stuff I love to do. So
Right? That's awesome. So I'm the same way. I'm embedded in a company that brings me to what I love to do, and I couldn't be more grateful for it. Let's talk quickly. Let's get started because, we only spend about 15 minutes, and I want to learn as much as we can about Federal's new 22 punch.
yeah.
So what is it?
Sure. So the 22 punch is a specifically designed 22 long rifle cartridge for personal defense. It's something that we've never had in our lineup before. And to my knowledge, I haven't found a cartridge that was specifically marketed for that reason. The 22 is, one of the oldest cartridges around. It's got a long history in hunting and target shooting. And we know that there's a lot of 22 guns out there, probably the most prolific cartridge on the market. And so, we're known for personal defense rounds, 9mm, 45, 38 special, almost any handgun cartridge you can imagine, but we'd never done 22. And it was always, the first thing you hear about as well, is a 22 powerful enough? Is it going to do the job? And that was something that, we really did struggle with, that we asked a lot of dealers and a lot of customers about. But ultimately, it came back to is, almost the universal answer I got was people are carrying a 22, no matter who they are. And they have various reasons for that. So if they are, you might as well make something that gives them the best, personal defense option out there for the 22 long rifle cartridge. And that's where the 22 punch came from.
You make a very valid point. It's been one of those discussions where is it worth, is it got enough power and punch behind it? Is someone going to carry it? People are carrying it.
Yeah.
Whether they own up to it with their friends and in their friend group or not, right? They are carrying it. And so why not have a round of ammunition that will work with it? So give us this. So now that you've kind of led us into that, why don't you tell us about the round a little bit?
Sure. So it's the 22 long rifle, like I mentioned, it's a 29 grain nickel plated flat nose. So if you can see on the camera here, the bullet profile doesn't have a hollow point. It's got I
Go back that way.
I got to work backwards here. So it doesn't have a hollow point on it like a traditional personal defense bullet. Typically, we use what we call the FBI protocol as our standard testing procedure that we run most of our duty rounds and personal defense rounds through. Duty rounds go through a little stricter testing. We'll shoot them through wallboard and ballistics glass and steel, more heavy mediums. But that's typically the needs of a police officer are typically not as stringent as the needs of your common person like you and I for personal defense. So we use a 29 grain nickel plated flat nose, and Our goal was to, as you're shooting through that protocol testing or through ballistics gel and heavy clothing, to get that target of 12 to 16 inches of penetration. That's where you want to be in the test. And the further you differ from that, you start to get deduct points. And so your typical 9mm bullet's going to expand to twice its size. You get that big, beautiful mushroom that people always look and see in there.
It
Yeah,
flowers,
the flower.
it
That's
blooms.
right.
Yes.
Yeah, and we call them petals.
Yes.
The branches that come off like a beautiful HST bullet. But the more a bullet expands, the faster it starts to slow down. And we really tune those bullets, and almost a barrel length as well can have a big effect on that. So we'll direct the skives in there, the thickness of the jacket. It all plays into how big the bullet's going to open up and how far it's going to penetrate into the target. On a 22 long rifle, you got a little bullet. We can make it expand quite a bit, but because it is going slower and there's not a lot of mass behind it, it doesn't have a lot to push through. And so your penetration can be really shallow. And, it could be 4 inches. And in ballistics gelatin, 4 inches is the equivalent of like breaking skin. So, it could be harmful. It's going to hurt. I wouldn't want to be shot point blank with a 22 of any bullet of any kind. But is it going to go through and give enough penetration to reach the vitals and give somebody a chance of stopping the threat? So we decided that we were going to forego expansion and go for penetration. And that lightweight 29 grain bullet going 1,070 feet per second out of a 2 to 2.5 inch barrel gave us that recipe for it. And if you were to equate that to shooting out of a rifle, which is what most posted velocities are on 22 long rifle, that's like 1,650 feet per second out of a rifle. So that's screaming fast. So we got a little fast bullet with a specifically designed profile to penetrate as far as we can. And our average is about 14.25 inches penetration through, multiple handguns, whether that's like a Ruger LCP2 is one of our main firearms that we use for development, but we've shot through Smith & Wesson 317s and almost anything else you can think of to ensure function and penetration on this little guy.
So you mentioned, you did talk about a barrel, right? Barreling.
Mm-hmm. I did.
That's just your measurement, right? So I think you said 2.5 inch barrel.
Yeah.
That's where you started with your measurement and your gradient, right?
Yeah, there's no minimum requirement. Guns go down to, you have 1 3/4 inch. We use kind of 2 inches as a standard, snub nose as a velocity. There's no restriction of how short you can go, but typically as you get shorter on a barrel, you start to give up speed because there's not enough time for the powder to burn behind the bullet and build up the pressure. But you can shoot this out of a rifle. There's no restriction. One thing, we do use a longer case, and it's if you're familiar like with a CCI product called a Stinger, it uses a similar length case as a Stinger. So this is the punch next to what we call a hunter match from Federal.
Which one is the punch?
The punch is the one that's all silver. So this guy.
Okay.
And then this is the hunter match.
All
so you can see the bullet length is the same, or the cartridge overall is 1 inch. But the case on the punch is a little higher. And that, like I said, gives you a little more, we got more room for powder capacity inside there. So the only thing where that would come into play is if you have a very tight match chambered pistol or chambered rifle that's really shooting for accuracy. They don't like that longer case length. But for the common guns that most of us are shooting are going to use, for this personal defense option, it's designed for all those. So
that kind of led me to my next question. Is there anything that doesn't like it or that wouldn't shoot it well that we should be aware of?
Yeah, just like a real voodoo tactical comes to mind. Somebody who's going to shoot for accuracy, they want a really, really tight chamber. It's not necessarily going to fit in there very well.
Right, they're out there shooting competition, right?
Yes, yeah. If they're the type of people that are aware of this already, Yes, so if you're asking the question,
I'm not going to name the round. It wasn't a federal round, but I was shooting in a small pistol competition because I'm not a competition shooter with a friend. And I watched her. She was wiping what looked like wax or oil off of each round before she loaded the magazine.
Sure.
Right. So she's a competition shooter, right? She knows her ammo. She knows her firearm. That's where that spectrum is. But the punch is been developed for personal defense. So you wouldn't normally see it in competition shooting. Right?
Typically not, no. I mean, there's nothing stopping you from that, but it's not geared for that and it's not tuned for that. We do test rigorously for function. We do test rigorously for bullet grain weight, but on on a match round, we're going to look at a lot of things like bullet pull and a lot of different elements that are going to make sure it's as consistent as possible to give you as tight as groups as possible. The goal for this is a good bullet that penetrates well, and that's always going to function.
All right. We do have a question.
Okay.
This is coming from Lisa Oric Martinez. She wants to know when and where can she get the 22 punch?
Sure. The where is going to be hard. The hard answer, I do have one option for you. The when, we started shipping product actually in January, but like most 22 ammo and most ammo now, as soon as it hits the shelf, it's out the door. I can tell you that we are dedicating a portion of our manufacturing every week to making Punch 22 long rifle. We are putting a certain quantity up on the Federal Premium website as well for direct sales to people. It goes for $9.99 a box. And then we are trying to service our dealers as best we can. So it is a part of our regular production schedule. Once it goes out the door, it's hard to tell you, where it's going. But just like all ammo, you're just going to have to be a little vigilant. And I always tell people, your price, ammo's at stores every day. You're probably going to have to stop a lot more frequently than you're used to be able to pick some up.
I feel confident that everyone that's watching, including myself, every time you see a store, you swing by. Or if you've got that good local contact, we'll occasionally make a phone call. You got anything in today? And if we can buy one box, we buy one box.
Yeah.
No matter what it is, right?
Sure. And I can assure people as a company, between the brands of Federal, CCI, Remington, we are cranking out a mountain of 22 long rifle, more than I almost ever thought would ever be possible. So the people at the plants are working miracles every day and working their tails off to get as much as possible. So we're doing our best.
Well, 22 has always been, that 22 long rifle has always been a great training round.
Absolutely.
Right? So particularly in the other rounds that are hard to come across today, people will fall back on that 22 if it's available. Cost versus cost, and availability versus availability.
Yeah, and just, general mechanics. If your mechanics, you got low recoil, it keeps your recovery back time. Right. It really, if you're shooting more, large bore, cutting that recoil out really makes you focus on the fundamentals, and then you can start to work that recoil in as you go into bigger cartridges. Because the most important thing is being able to put those shots on target, consistently.
Consistently. That's the key word. And we've seen this last year, the 22 long rifle really come to play because so many families were home.
Yeah.
Right. And we went through summer last year and fall and finding activities and learning components. That was one of the things people were doing that they had not been doing for years. It had just sort of slipped away, and they brought it back. All right. You mentioned something I have to ask about. So you said on the Federal site, when it's available, if you hop on there, you can find it for $9.99 a box. How many come in a box? I mean, 50.
It's
50 in a box.
Round of 50, and if you're at retail, it's going to look just like this.
Okay.
And I actually just got this last week. I got my first sample of off the line to shoot. I shot some prototype rounds when we were developing them. But yeah, so I'm pretty excited myself.
So now that's like your coveted box. You'll never shoot it.
I do, if you were able to come to our offices, we do kind of have little trophies sitting around of stuff. Normally it's the projects, that we're working on with engineering to keep things kind of fresh in your mind. So of what you're working on for the next year. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, let me look through here really quickly and see if we have any other questions before we jump to our business of the week. I want to thank you for coming on tonight. I don't see any new questions.
Okay.
Everything's
thanks.
When and where. The 22 punch is super exciting. Of course, the ladies and men that we see at the trailer, we encourage all of them to always buy a second handgun, right? Buy a 22. It's a great training tool. And with defensive rounds available, it becomes a great defensive firearm as well.
Yeah, I've heard it referred to as an onion gun if you have a backup gun. So it's like another layer of protection or defense that you may have, whether it's on the ankle. And and I'm sure you've seen some people, they have arthritis or working the action of not all guns are easy to manipulate. So it does open the door for people where maybe a full 9 or a 45 isn't the right option for them, but they can handle this. So we wanted to make the best bullet for those people looking for it.
We appreciate it, and I'm sure they do too. Do you want to leave us with anything before we finish up our business for the night? You have anything else you want to say?
No, I just, as always, just encourage to go shooting, take a friend shooting if they've never been out before, and keep us in mind. For more information, you can always go to federalpremium.com, and we're available on all social channels as well. But I appreciate what you guys do, and, thanks for having me on with you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dan, for jumping on with us tonight. I don't know what part of the country you're in. It's probably your supper time.
Yeah, Minnesota. I'm in Minnesota. So.
Okay, so it's about 5:15 your time, right?
Yes. Yeah.
All right, great. So we'll get you off here really quickly.
Okay. Thank you.
For all of our watchers out there, thank you for coming on this week. Don't forget, if you like, comment, and share. All you have to do is one of those things, and it will enter you into the pool of people to win a Shoot Like a Girl swag bag next week. Last week we had Jen with the Cabela's hunt experience. She joined us about that first turkey hunt experience. And our question that we pulled our winner from was, what would you like to see the Bass Pro Cabela's Club hunt experience put together for an all-female hunt? So our winner was Sheila Schrum, and I think her last name is Circles. It's not spelled exactly like Circles, but we're going with Circles. And she said, like many of you, elk, right? So that is a big hunt. That seems to be one of the prize hunts out there. We will always share that information up the line with them, but you never know. Sheila, maybe it'll happen. So Sheila, thank you for your comment last week, and we will reach out to you, get your mailing address, and send you a swag bag. Dan, thank you for joining us tonight. We look forward to connecting with Federal again in the future, whether it's you or one of your counterparts, to talk about other types of ammunition and the things that we just don't know. A lot of us just assume a piece of ammunition is a piece of ammunition is a piece of ammunition.
There's definitely a lot more that goes into it than that. But yeah, thanks for having me. And I'll be tuning in. I want to see how the turkey hunt goes. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you all. We'll see you. Oh, wait, next week. So next week, Karen and I will both be on a hunt. We're working on trying to have a stand-in host. Fingers crossed that happens. Otherwise, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Everybody stay safe, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.